Hello and welcome to the Pulse Social podcast, where here at Pulse Social, we bring you that sporting smile. My name is Hayden Wallace, and today's topic is all about the amazing work done by a nutritional therapist, personal trainer, and eating disorder coach, Jenny Tomei. Jenny's here with us now. Jenny, how are you?
Hi, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you here with us. So let's just go straight into it then, talking about your work in eating disorders and the wonderful work you're doing there. What got you interested in sort of nutrition and becoming a therapist?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've always loved fitness, so I've always been into sport. So that's why I became a personal trainer. I really wanted to help other people and motivate other people and give them confidence. So I thought, I'm going to become a personal trainer, and that's what I did. I started to become a personal trainer. And then, I was really fascinated with nutrition. Obviously, having recovered from anorexia as myself, as a teenager, I suffered with it. And then I learned all about the body, nutrition, and I just wanted to know more. And then from that, I decided to become a nutritional therapist and study it even more, because I wanted to eventually help people with nutrition and eventually eating disorders as well.
Okay, that's really awesome. So I guess moving from like training to nutrition and therapy, did that help you a lot, having that background in sort of physiology and such?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with sort of personal training work that I still do now, most of it is obviously it's 80% nutrition, it's 20%, your fitness.
Is
So
it? That's the key. That's what I need to
yeah.
trying to get slimmer as well, and Christmas is around the corner, and I go on runs, but it doesn't seem to be doing enough.
No, yeah, the nutrition is really important. That's why, I started to get clients who are really struggling with, with their diet and their relationship with food. So I wanted to be able to offer more help within that area.
You mentioned there that you struggled with anorexia as a teenager. Sort of tell me about that if you don't mind. It's obviously probably quite personal, but yeah, tell me sort of, yes, like how that began and the process and sort of your experience with that.
Yeah, sure. So it all happened when I was I just turned 19, I guess, where I lost a lot of weight. It all happened most background of emotional abuse and bullying at university and things like that. And I was always quite a shy sort of person, and I think I suffered with my confidence back then, and my self-esteem was quite low. And yeah, I really sort of suffered quite badly, and then I just dropped a load of weight, and there I was with a BMI of 14.5, so it was very drastic.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think it's really interesting how you mentioned sort of that kind of started in university, or at least that's when it like really took its toll. And I think lots of people aren't really aware of like just how difficult that can be and the repercussions and the impact that can have on you. You probably weren't expecting that when you were going to university. That's probably the last thing you thought was going to happen.
So yes, certainly was. I didn't expect that to happen, no. But I think even before I went to university, I think my eating just, I always say it slightly became a little bit disordered, especially when I was in sort of sixth form. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed in exams, and I think I dealt with that by restricting my sort of food as something to control. And I think a lot of people, especially young people, will relate to that as well, because it's the only thing at the time that I thought I had control over. And I also saw another student of mine that her eating habits weren't the best, and I think I picked up on that, and then it all just started kind of from there. And that's why I'm really passionate about the early intervention, because that should have been picked up, or that should have been addressed. I should have spoke about it then.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really interesting. Like you mentioned, not necessarily like having an eating disorder, but just experiencing or showing signs of disordered eating. What's the difference there, kind of in that distinction?
So yeah, disorder. So I see a lot of this on social media, so it's really important to get these two terms right. So disordered eating is sort of, can be anything from chaotic eating, or just feeling depressed and not wanting to eat, generally skipping meals, not prioritizing your meals. So that's when your eating becomes slightly disordered, and it's not connected with shape or weight concerns, whereas an eating disorder is. So they're connected with shape and weight eating disorders.
is it quite often then that sort of disordered eating turns into an eating disorder, or is it not necessarily going to happen?
It depends. There's no one single cause of an eating disorder, so there could be many things.
Yeah, gosh, that must have been really
Sure.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think back then I should have learned how to effectively deal with stress or anxiety, because I suffered quite badly with anxiety, and still do, but I just know how to manage it better now, you know. Back then I didn't know how to manage it.
Yeah, no, and it's hard, and yeah, I certainly remember being that age as well, and no one really talked to us about it, at least. And yeah, I can imagine like controlling your food and at least having that sort of feeling of control probably felt quite comforting in a way.
Yeah, it did feel comforting and quite, you know, makes you feel like you've got some sort of power or control over your life. And I think that's what I felt like, you know, it gave. And even anxiety, I didn't even know what anxiety was back then. That was never spoke about.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've come a long way, I think, in the last
Yes.
10 or so years. So
We definitely
really good,
have.
but more to be done, and certainly the work you're doing as well is exactly part of that progression in that. I imagine as well, working with people, helping them overcome eating disorders and such, they must really appreciate sort of your experience that you've had with anorexia. And is that useful for them? How do they feel about that?
Yeah, no, definitely, because I think, you know, they feel like, you know, they're like, oh, this person gets me, they understand me, they know what I'm going through. And, you know, I've got a lot of empathy for my clients as well. And I think, you know, that's, I understand what they're going through, and I feel that people just want that. They want someone, you know, who's gonna listen to them, understand them, and be able to, you know, empathize with them. I can put myself in someone's shoes very well, I feel.
Yeah, and particularly for something that's a mental health condition, I think that's exactly the kind of help someone needs, which is someone that can understand them, right, on an emotional level. Whereas a doctor or a medical physician just sort of almost like a mechanic, you know, sees a problem and then tinkers, prescribes, does a bit of help there. But
Yeah,
I think that's wonderful that you can provide that kind of more personal, and it gets more to the heart and to the emotions, which I think is the help that people need, particularly.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm trained at the National Centre for Eating Disorders, so there, you know, we do a lot of lifeline work with clients. So we start, you know, we look at when they were born up to their age now, and we go through their lifeline and see, you know, what's going on, what were their triggers, and you learn a lot about the person that way.
So you really go in depth, even to their like history and background and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
In doing a bit of research, if I'm not mistaken, eating disorders has the highest death rate for mental health conditions, psychiatric conditions. Is that correct? Anorexia.
Yeah, anorexia. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. And then particularly, I think in the context that it affects, or the large group that affects is younger people.
Yes, I mean, since COVID, I've sort of seen an increase in the kind of the 13 to 16 coming down with it, and anxiety is on the rise as well. So I think definitely there needs to be more done for like how to cope with anxiety for young people, because obviously anxiety is linked to anorexia as well. Yeah,
It's really striking, and a very somber statistic, I guess, in fact and thought. And yeah, I guess that's just makes it all the more vital, kind of bringing up these issues and the work that you're doing. And speaking of that work, so you started Gen Up, correct?
that's correct. Yeah.
So yeah. Tell me a bit about that, kind of how you got started with that, and I guess what it is.
Of course. So I actually started Gen Up during lockdown because I was seeing, you know, eating disorders were on the rise, young people were suffering, and I really wanted to do something to give back. So I thought, you know, oh, now's the time for me to come out with my own story, even though, you know, at first I never thought I was going to, because a part of me felt ashamed about it, but I don't anymore. I think coming out with my own story was a very big deal for me, but I was willing to do that in order to help others, and that's why I've done it. And Gen Up is all about my own recovery journey from anorexia, because it certainly, you know, wasn't a straight road. It went on for many years, and that's why I started it, because I wanted to provide hope to parents, students, and educate teachers as well, because I feel like, you know, getting into schools and educating teachers and doing workshops for them, they're paramount into spotting the early signs of an eating disorder. So important.
Is that kind of what you want to focus more of your time doing in the future, or you want to still do personal training?
Yeah, so I think I'm doing part-time with personal training now, so I'm not a full-time trainer anymore. So the eating disorder work that I'm doing is definitely where my heart lies and my passion. So I definitely want to be doing more of that, and helping young people, you know, and parents and teachers. And that's what I see myself doing.
You've partnered with Pulse Social, with Gen Up, and doing these eating disorder workshops. Tell me a bit about that, and sort of why Pulse Social, and how do those two enterprises kind of relate to each other?
Yeah, no, definitely. So with Pulse Social, we want to do eating disorder workshops for sports clubs, like corporates, and also in the UAE. So looking to do workshops in things like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, because, you know, I'm passionate about raising awareness of eating disorders out there, because unfortunately they are on the rise. So that's something that we want to do together with Pulse. So that's really exciting as well. And, you know, sharing the same sort of goals, wanting to make a difference. And also Pulse is involved with a lot of sports as well. So I thought it'd be really good to like target sports clubs for eating disorders in sports, because unfortunately they are on the rise. You know, people who regularly participate in sport, you know, are at risk, you know, sometimes are at risk for eating disorder. So raising awareness around that as well. So we thought it'd be a great combination to, you know, partner up and do some great work together.
And so the workshops themselves consist of presentations. Is that kind of the format?
So it's live workshops, whether that's online, you know, preferably going in face to face and doing workshops and things like, you know, sports clubs, corporates, and I think, you know, starting off with Zoom workshops as well, targeting the UAE, and eventually hopefully go out there and deliver live workshops out there, and spread more awareness out there to the students within the schools.
I guess the hope is that what you teach isn't just useful for short term, but that teachers that are listening and students are listening take that on, tell their friends or whatever, learn about it when they become parents, if they're a student, then stuff that they can remember, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah,
the workshops will be about, obviously, spreading awareness, talking about my recovery journey, educating students around nutrition. I feel like education is so key. I firmly believe knowledge is power. Education around nutrition is massive, especially with eating disorders. Really excited to get that going.
yeah. And as well, being in schools and seeing younger people as well, and telling them about your story, I think, like you say, you know, as you said, that took you maybe a bit of time to come out and say that without feeling like ashamed or feeling confident enough to say that. But I think probably from when you do that and share that with other people, I'm sure there will be other people that haven't told anyone that they're going through and struggling with an eating disorder. But probably because of what you say, will come out and try and get help for it, or confide in someone else. And so I think that's probably like maybe you won't even know about it, but like an unknown benefit that could come from that.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what I hope to do, and sort of, you know, say that it's not easy to admit. You know, obviously I was very much in denial that I had an eating disorder, but, you know, once I admitted it and I was like, okay, yeah, I have this, and I'm going to get help. I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to waste my life. I want to get better. As soon as I came to that conclusion, I started the recovery journey, and then, you know, I worked from there. But it's never a straight road. It was never sort of, you know, I didn't wake up one day and I was like, oh, I'm going to recover. It was, you know, I had to work hard at it. Recovery is hard work. So, you know, it's just having a support network is always really good. People to help, you know, support you, encourage you, and is essential. I think that's something that I was lacking in my recovery. I didn't, really have that. I lost quite a lot of friends as well, so I found it really hard. But I think what kept me going was, especially like my goals and wanting to recover, wanting to be better at sport, wanting to have more time for my friends and family. So focusing on, sort of, your recovery goals, and I want to be able to spread that message to young people as well. They have a choice, and recovery is always the best choice.
How did you get to that point where you said to yourself, enough is enough?
Well, in all honesty, I didn't actually get to that. Well, in all honesty, so what happened was I was prompted into therapy. It's, my ex-partner at the time, who I was with, actually, said to me, you have an eating disorder. And I was like, what? No, I don't. Like, what? I was just so in denial. And he was the one who motivated me to go in. So he literally held my hand and took me to the actual the Maudsley Centre, and it was what I needed, and I think, at the time, in all honesty, I think he, threatened to go or leave me, and at the time, I that was the worst thing for me. I think I was weighing it up, and in the end, he was more important to me than the eating disorder. So that was the reason why I decided to recover.
Wow. What's some advice then, I guess, like passing words of wisdom that you would give to someone struggling with an eating disorder?
I think it's really important to talk to someone that is going to understand, and to know that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not weak. You are not broken. It's just, talking to someone who you feel you can open up to. And that's the first step. Because I remember when, I came out of the Maudsley and I had all my sessions, I didn't see myself as fully recovered. I actually, I made a bold decision and just sort of up and left for Australia, because that was another thing. I was just like, I'm done with this. So I want to travel. Like, traveling was a goal that I wanted to do as well. It was something that I was really passionate about doing, and the anorexia always stopped me from doing that. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to book this flight, I'm going to go. And that's what I did. I was, quite drastic, but I sort of did it, and I went. And that's what helped with as soon as I went out there, I started to meet new people, I gained my confidence back, and I was like, it just really helped me. And I opened up to like just a few people out there. Like, we're just like, so many people were like, that were there, like going through their own struggles when they, if they were traveling, like something happened in their life, or and I was just like, oh, I'm going to say what's up with me. And I'm just, told like some person that I'd known for like 2 or 3 days, and it was actually like really therapeutic, just to like talk about it, because it turns out like, he was going through his own issues. So that really helped. And as I started to talk about it and tell more people, it just got easier. And then it made me feel like, okay, like, I'm normal. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just going through this. It's fine. I'm going to get over it.
No, that's amazing. Wow. And that's so funny that you just up and left Australia and then went. But that's awesome that you did that, and that's the goal that you had. I
found something that was more important to me, and travel was so important to me. I was so sick of wasting my life. That's it, basically.
Right.
Just like, and I think that's what I hope young people listening to this today will be like, yeah, I'm going to choose something different for myself.
Yeah, definitely. That's I think that's the best advice they can have. And as well, listening to your story, it sounds like other people, like you mentioned, having a support group and other people were crucial in that helpful recovery. And so, I'm sure the work that you do will help other people to reach out to their loved ones and close friends and try and find some support where they can, because as you've proven, nothing wrong with you, and no shame, but anyone can get through it, and there's a bright future ahead.
No, definitely. Just take it one day at a time. You're going to have bad days, you're going to have good days. Just accept how you're feeling in the moment. breathe and move on. Tomorrow's a new day. That's what I always just say to myself.
That's good advice. Good advice for anyone. So yeah,
you just got to keep going, especially if you suffer with anxiety. It's like your mind is like, poof, you know, your thoughts are all over the place. It's being able to calm that down and, you know, managing that. I manage that better now through like meditation or things like hypnotherapy's worked very well for me, actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, it helps calm my brain down a bit and things like that. So actually my mum recently suggested to me that I should take up knitting, so I'm currently thinking about that right now. So yeah,
That's
apparently
funny.
knitting is very therapeutic for the mind. So
little stuff like that can just keep you calm and maybe something to focus on
yeah,
and help you, right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for your time and for talking. And without doubt, your sort of vulnerability and openness with your own story and experiences are going to be so useful for so many people, I'm sure, as they listen to you and what you have to say about something that really needs to be spoken of more. I think, you know, given the fact that, as we mentioned, it's so dangerous and so deadly, really, that yeah, this is something that I think people need to be really learning more about and being more aware of, because as you say, you know, it starts off with something that's so simple as just skipping a few meals, or, you know, trying to take control in those little ways that could then develop into something much worse. So thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Yeah, great to have you.